Whenever I started this YouTube channel, one of the main things I wanted to do is read books and talk about books. And the only type of video that I haven't made so far is a book review video. So today's video is going to be a combination of a book review and also a worth the hype. We all know them. Those books we just can't seem to avoid on Book Talk, Bookstagram, or BookTube. In today's video, I want to talk about one of these books in particular and tell you if I think personally if they are worth the hype or not. And I actually want to start off this series with a book that I currently don't own a physical copy of that I read on my e-reader, and it is Fourth Wing. Fourth Wing is so hyped everywhere. It is a book about dragons, and in the hype it is like enemies to lovers, the best book of the year, blah blah blah. Now of course Fourth Wing has a few of the catchphrases or introduction phrases that are used for this book, and I just wanted to write them down for reference because I have actually read the book, and then later on see if what these claim to be are true. The first one says, brutal games, grumpy dragons, sizzling sexual tension, a fantasy like you've never read before. A wild, sexy roller coaster of a ride. Dragons, war, and Hunger Games-esque trials. Fourth Wing is a high-stakes, enemies-to-lovers fantasy romance, perfect for fans of Lee Bardugo, Saraymas, and dark academia. And of course, I had to check Goodreads, because Goodreads is kind of my reference to seeing if, how is this book perceived by the world? By people who actually read books and not just by people on Instagram. The book currently has 619,454 ratings with an average of 4.65 out of 5. This is extremely high. This book was actually released in March this year, and it was a standalone book. Well, the second part hadn't been announced at that time, and the second part is actually releasing on November 7th, so I'm not sure if this video will go up right before or right after it, but I for sure will be reading Iron Flame the moment it releases. Before we dive into the contents of the book, because we all know it involves dragons and sexy time, who is this book actually written for? This is an adult fantasy romance book, but I think that the adult part is mainly because of the sexual tension and the sexual actions that get into this book, and not specifically because the setting is so adult or the writing style is super adult. Mainly near the end of the book there's a lot more sexual action going on. It is very well described, so I get why it is an adult fantasy romance, but I feel like a lot of things are more like the young adult. So I feel like this was written with the age range of the main character in mind, which is people that are their early 20s or that are 18, 19, 20. I think that is the age range that this book is specifically written for. There is also an excessive use of the word fuck in this book, for no apparent reason. It's just it's a curse word, we all know it, but it's used to a ridiculous amount. And if you are reading the actual book, as I was, it's not super noticeable, but my partner was actually listening to the audio version of it, and you really could not ignore it. So it was very annoying for him to have to go through that. So if you're expecting a Tolkien-esque setting, then forget it. If you've read any Saraymas books, then yes, Fourth Wing is in that same realm of writing and same style of writing. Up next, I want to talk about the setting of this book. It takes place in a country where there is a military system that kind of rules the area where they live. It is guarded by dragon riders and the other parts of this military system. The setting of this book is actually pretty straightforward. We follow the main character, Violet. She's a 20-year-old who actually all her life thought she was going to be a scribe. So there is 4 squadrons in the military forces that rule the country. You have the scribes, you have the riders, you have the healers, and you have the normal soldiers, the infantry I think they're called, and you have to apply to be part of one of these groups. Now, Violet has been thinking all of her life that she wanted to be a scribe because her father was a scribe. However, a few months before the actual trials start taking place for each of the squadrons, her mother, who is the general of the army and of like the thing that they're fighting for, decides that she has to apply for the rider squadrons and go through all of the trials that are set up, that only the most elite and the best of the best actually become dragon riders. Now, what will you expect at the beginning of the book? It is quite predictable. Like, we all know from the first page of this book that this girl is going to succeed and going to have dragons, because that's what this book is about. It is about Violet Sorrengail, the dragon rider. Like, it doesn't take a long time to figure out that she will go through all of these things. She will succeed one way or another. She's a smart girl. There's a lot of interaction between the other students and her as well, which I personally really did enjoy. And this book is really fast-paced. That's one of the things that I personally really like about this book, is that you actually go through a lot of steps in it and you get a lot of backstory in it. So it's really easy to read it in a few days, which is what I personally did. And at the end of the book, there is a huge plot twist and a huge cliffhanger that left me both shocked, stunned, and really looking forward to book 2. So the writing style of this book, if you enjoy it, and you will know it very fast if you enjoy it or not, it is really good. I personally really enjoyed it. It was fast-paced, a lot of action was happening, and also, like, we have the romance line in it between two of the main characters, but it's not that the entire book evolves around the two of them. There is more going on. There is more happening than just the two of them being focused on one another. Of course, it is a big part of the book. And it sometimes was like, okay, we get it. Just continue with the other things that are happening, but it's not overly pushed all the time. The dragons in this book have their own characters. So when the description said grumpy dragons, I have to give a very big side note that the dragons aren't always grumpy, but it's funny. Dragons and their dragon riders have a bond that allows them to communicate with each other, so you have a lot of dialogue between the dragon and the rider that no one else knows about. So you have a lot of like communication between them, which can be quite funny, and which was at some points. Now, this book has become a little bit of a victim of its own success in a lot of physical bookstores here around me personally. When it was hyped so much on TikTok that a lot of people wanted to buy it, the stocks of the stores were depleted almost instantly. They did not expect this book to blow up as much as it did. My local Waterstones in Brussels even had a book club dedicated to this book, so that just speaks about how popular it is. And I get it. I honestly get it. It's a really fast-paced book. I truly hope that it gets a lot of new fantasy readers into the genre. And I also hope that they explore more books about dragons, because there is so much more, and there's also a lot more like in-depth books about dragons where the focus is more on the dragons and not specifically the dragon riders. Now, in the meantime, because of the success of this book, we've had a lot of special editions come out, and Rebecca Yarros also made a new updated version of the book with an extra chapter from the standpoint of the second character that we sometimes follow in the book. And that special edition, fortunately, was leaked before it was actually officially released, and I was able to get my hands on it, so I actually pre-ordered it. So one of the reasons I don't own a copy yet is because I actually wanted a special edition of this book. Now, please do note that if you want any of these special editions and you want to buy them secondhand, that the prices are going up, up, and up. I've seen books that are worth 20 euros being sold for over 100 euros on Vinted, which is insane, but it is unfortunately what is happening with the popularity of this book. So if you want to get your hands on a special edition, make sure you are subscribed to the book subscriptions offering them, or that you are very, very early with the Waterstones orders as well, because I know they have a few of them available every now and then. So is Fourth Wing worth the hype, in my opinion? Yes and no. Yes, I get the hype. It is a very good book, but I also feel that it has been the main focus of Book Talk for so long that I feel we can move on to something else. There's other books who at least deserve a little bit of this attention as well. Like, I have an entire bookshelf of books, and I don't think half of them are being talked about online, which is such a shame. I do get that Fourth Wing is so popular because it has those critical elements that a lot of people are looking for, like dragons, a heroine that is kind of the underdog, romance, more dragons, because dragons are something that a lot of people really love in these books, so I do get it. And if, like me, you are one of the people who enjoyed Fourth Wing, know that the next part, Iron Flame, is being released on November 7th. And also, Rebecca Yarros, the writer, has announced that the Empyrean series, so where Iron Flame and Fourth Wing are part of, will be a at least 5-book-long book series. So I am personally really curious to see if she can keep up with how Fourth Wing was received, how it was written, and if she can make it a continuous series that we want to keep reading and that doesn't have second book syndrome like a lot of book series do. This is, I think, the very first book review up on my channel. Let me know what you liked about it, what maybe I should add in the future, or what you personally think about this book. That's also very welcome. This will definitely not be the only video in the Worth the Hype series. I have a few other books that I really want to create a video about. One of them is Divine Rivals, another one of them is Legends and Lattes, and I of course also want to talk about Sarah Yemas, who is everywhere online and who you see merch about everywhere on fantasy conventions. So if one of these speaks to you, or if you have another book that's really being hyped that you want to know if it is worth it or not, I will be more than happy to have a look at it for you. Let me know in the comment section down below which one you want to see next. Before I end this video, of course, I want to thank you so much for watching. Give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I will see you very soon with a new video. Bye!